And we are back with episode 16 of the Noble Shit podcast, where we all share about how we're growing through what we're going through. And today I have the amazing Chelsea Walker. Has been deemed the Detroit Wellness It Girl. And as I've grown to know her over these years, she is an amazing human being. She really walks what she talks. She's all about wellness and not just from a movement based perspective, just wellness in life um, and wanting best for yourself. So, welcome, Chelsea.
Thank you. I'm so
So,
excited to be here.
I know I'm so happy to have you. Finally, it finally happened. So
Fun.
we always have one rule and one rule only, and that is you can't say I'm good. So
Mm.
we always start the same way. How are you?
Okay, I'm gonna have to apply that rule to life in general.
Mm-hmm.
I am navigating a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
presently. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
interesting season right now. Um, yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. Like just navigating. I don't have a
Okay.
specific adjective to describe like a feeling because I feel like I'm feeling a million and one things at once.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sifting through. I'm sifting through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, that's a good place to start. I've been in a similar space where it's like I feel like I'm holding the duality of a lot of things. Like I'm feeling a lot of emotions at once. So, how do you mentally process when you're feeling a lot, when you have a lot on your plate? Because people that know you always doing something. So, how do you handle and make space to hold all those emotions?
Yeah. I don't even know that that's something I consciously do.
Hmm.
I feel like this episode, I can just tell already from the first two questions that my responses are probably going to be so far left from what people think I'm going to say.
Huh?
Just because like how I present myself, like polished and prepared and like put together and kind of has it figured out. I really don't.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
do to an extent in certain areas and like certain aspects, but the question that you asked is something that I have realized I haven't been as intentionally deciding how I'm like managing and carrying all the things. I feel like I've just been doing it for so
Hmm.
long that I've kind of just learned how to keep going and like figure it out. It's kind of like a thin line between authenticity and like performance. And
Mm.
that's something that I've been talking to my therapist about in great detail. Right now, I think the busyness and just managing so many things externally, but also navigating so many emotions, feelings, experiences internally has really burnt your girl out. Like I'm burnt out. Like I am currently working through high functioning burnout. And I'm realizing that just because I'm doing it doesn't mean that it is serving me. And it doesn't mean that I am, just because I'm doing it well, doesn't mean that I am well. And that's
Yes.
something that is like so hard to say and it's so hard to sit in. And so now I'm at the intersection of like awareness and figuring out how do we move forward in a way that is healthy because how I'm showing up right now isn't sustainable. It's not. Like I'm pushing myself in physical aspect, mental aspect, in my relationship dynamics. Like I'm just showing up so consistently to the point where it's like, okay, we have to put the things that we tell other people into practice and really, really, really standing on that.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I think we've been trying to get this episode in the works for so long, and I
Yeah.
think there's nothing like divine timing because this is the time to talk about the things. You have a lot going on, and we're kind of similarly aligned in or parallel in like our current journeys. I am in that same boat of like battling this high, not even just high functioning burnout, high functioning depression, like just
High functioning
all
everything.
high functioning everything, running a business. We're both in a space, and I'll actually let you elaborate further with what you have going on, but we're both in a space of building, of birthing something new, in a new level of things. Like we both had our brands for a while. We both have this established community, if you will. But now we're taking it up to a level. We're building homes for ourselves and all the things. And it's interesting because, at least for me, I'm in a season of like finding the balance of pushing through because deadlines have to be met and things have to happen, regardless of how you feel. But then also finding the time to honor, you know, hey, I might need a couple hours to take a nap real quick, or I can't answer the phone right now. I got to put this on Do Not Disturb, or however that looks. So, as we go into that, just to give people context, what are you juggling right now? What is on your plate?
Yeah, before I elaborate on that, I wanted to kind of pull something out of what you said about like finding the time for those things. I'm realizing that it's not even something because I've been doing that too. But a lot of the things that I've been like finding the time for are things that I really have to prioritize allocating time for because I never find the time for it. Or whatever time I do find for it is like so little when it's really things that should already be like integrated into my day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to kind of master that dance. But right now, I am in the process of building out the first stretch lounge in Michigan
Woo-hoo.
called the Flex House. It will be the home of my business, what was once Flexology, but has now transitioned into the Flex House. Essentially, a space for movement in all forms and facets, stretching classes, heated, non heated, mobility training, bar infused movement classes, a little bit of kind of like strength essence. Really, I've just kind of like created my own little baby that involves so many different ways to move, but also still kind of integrates the very important mental emotional aspect that a lot of fitness classes exclude or only include on a very, very, very micro level. So that is something that has been taking, I don't even want to say taken because like to whom much is given, much is required. And so it is like taking, it's pulling, it's just pulling me in a different way, but it's
Mm-hmm.
still pouring back into me as well because I'm so excited to have my own physical space. I'm not subleasing somebody else's space or like moving on somebody else's time. And for a long time, I didn't even know if I for sure wanted a physical space. I had kind
Mm-hmm.
of convinced myself that I didn't, but that was really just fear. And so now that I've moved past the fear and I've said, yes, we're going to do brick and mortar, we are for sure doing this. I'm like all the way in it right now. So just finishing the build out of that. I've been very hands off, fortunately enough. One day I'll talk about the full backstory of how it all came about, but I'm in a really good position where I don't have to be literally boots on the ground, laying drywall or painting anything. Like I get to just kind of
Mm-hmm.
like get my vision and just yay or nay and see it when it's finished, basically. But still just like using a lot of mental real estate to kind of think through all of the details of like exactly what I wanted to be, exactly what I wanted to look like, who I wanted to serve, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Simultaneously, I am also further building out I don't even really know what to call it because it's not a business per se, more so like a movement, if you will. The It Girl Wellness movement, where I host monthly health and wellness excursions, essentially like the concept similar to a bar crawl, but without food and alcohol being the center, health and wellness and community being the center. So I pick a day out of the month. I rally up a bunch of people and we go and explore different health and wellness related businesses, classes, activations, so on and so forth. And initial intention behind that was to kind of like share my resources and kind of shine light on businesses that may or may not get as much traction, traffic, but also kind of to foster some genuine community as well. I know everybody is throwing around the word community, and wanting to be in community without doing the work that it requires to actually build and maintain communal spaces. So that has been very, very, very fruitful. And I thought initially it would just be kind of like something fun to do month to month outside of like my personal business offerings, but girl, it's just about as big as the business at this point. Like it's
Yeah.
so sought after every single month. So that's been going really well. What else am I doing? In my personal life, I am training for a high rocks competition in New York, as well as my first half marathon in December in Dallas, as
Hmm.
well as just preparing mentally for my 30th birthday this year. That's in a couple of months.
Yes.
Um, I am actively in like a weight loss transition, if you will. I'm getting ready
Killing
to
it, by the
move.
way.
Next month, I'm moving from my loft that I've been in for the last 3 years. I'm transitioning a little deeper into downtown. So it's just a lot of stuff happening right now. Um,
Hmm.
all while also showing up to my highest capacity in all of my personal friendships and relationships. And I know that that's probably like, oh, we all do that, but like I really
Hmm.
take relationships so seriously that it
Hmm.
is it's a job. Like it takes a lot from me to be in those spaces. And then on the not so pretty side of things, I'm still actively grieving. Um, yeah, I am still actively grieving. And this time of year is always really challenging because a lot of the anniversaries and just like significant dates around the people that I lost all kind of run together from March until May. And so like this time of year, it always just kind of does something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It just it makes things feel a way. I won't say like whether it's good or bad, that's subjective, but it muddies the water a little bit for me
Hmm.
personally. Yeah, I felt it a lot more intensely this year. I don't know why. Maybe it's something to do with getting ready to turn 30. I don't know. But
Hmm.
this year, it really knocked me off my feet. So I have a lot on my plate right now. And
Hmm.
I'm just like, I'm good, but I'm not. I
Hmm.
don't think I was
Uh-huh.
prepared, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I
Yeah.
know it's a season, but it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely a lot.
And and from the outside looking in, people see Chelsea, like you said, they see put together. They see she is the epitome of wellness. She has it figured out. She has mastered this wellness thing, which I don't think you can necessarily master, but you know,
Not at
I
all.
I I am glad you're sharing in the way you are about everything that's on your plate and not just from a work standpoint, just as a human being, because it's the people that we kind of, whether intentionally or unintentionally, put on a pedestal, of like, I aspire to be like, or she is achieving goals that I want to achieve for myself, or she is, on this journey that I am just starting, like whatever that may look like for people. Um, to see that at any stage, there are highs, there are lows, there's tension, there's pushback, there's challenges, there's uh, points where at any stage we need to expand our capacity. Um, and so before I even tag back into what you said about your grief journey and how you're managing that with everything that you have going, let's go all the way to the beginning. Where did your wellness journey start?
Hmm. Where did my wellness journey start? That's a really challenging question for me because, again, I'm one of those people that looks at wellness being something that's far beyond like physical movement.
Mm-hmm.
Journey that I was actually like aware of and intentionally participating in, I would say around eighth grade, ninth grade. That is when I first began really communicating and like in great detail describing like being depressed, having anxiety, feeling frustrated, being emotionally neglected. Like that's when I first learned how to put language to things that I had been feeling for years and just didn't know how to describe. And although I didn't have the tools that I have now, I think that that should be considered the start because identifying areas that I didn't feel well were the seeds of actually taking the steps that I take now to be well and to help other people be well and just prioritizing wellness in all aspects. So I would definitely say around eighth grade, ninth grade, not to jump ahead because I'm sure you have far more aligned questions, but that definitely was the start of my challenges with like mental health disorders and just trying to kind of like reach and grab for whatever I could to help myself feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, it became clearer and clearer and clearer as to why the things that I went through were somewhat necessary,
Mm-hmm.
for lack of better words.
Mm-hmm.
But they still served a purpose in the overall grand scheme of things. So yeah, that's definitely the start. And
Mm-hmm.
every day since then has just been another chapter to the story, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. And so what I admire about you too is how your faith plays a role into just your humanness, but also your journey and how much you say, your faith has helped you, elevated you into the woman you
Absolutely.
are today. Um, did that start in eighth grade too, or is that something that was strengthened over time, or is that something that's new for you?
Oh no, I was born in a church. I'm like
Oh,
a pew baby for real. My mom was an ordained minister. I spent a lot of time with my grandparents growing up, who were also very devout Christians. They actually used to call me preacher when I was like two, or it started when I was probably like three. Like they used
uh-huh.
to tell me, it's so funny how who you are is who you've always been. I really
Mm-hmm.
believe that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they used to tell me that I was like a preacher or a pastor, a teacher in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
very early up in my life. Um, but I don't think that I had my own. Let me take my time in answering this question. Though I was introduced to Christianity at a young age, I hadn't established my own relationship with Christ until about 4 or 5 years ago. Um, I'm sure I already had a relationship, but it wasn't one that I was actively engaging and participating in myself. I actually stepped away from religion as a whole and was like very much like anti-Christianity for a good 2, 3 years. And when my best friend passed, I got like sucked back into the church space some way, somehow. But the season of life that I'm in now has so little to do with church or religion, even,
Mm-hmm.
and is very much a reflection of understanding how present God has always been in my life
Mm-hmm.
and how trusting He is of me in the way that I allow myself to be a vessel. Um, I don't know that that's something that is new. I think that my awareness of it is new, but it's always been there. Um, I just have become more familiar with my communication styles and obviously reading my word, that's not something that I ever did when I was younger. Like I
Hmm.
was in church, but again, not in
Right.
in relationship. I was in religion, but I was not in relationship. And
Oh, I like
so
that.
the space that I'm in now again has so little to do with religion, so little to do with church and doing church and looking like church, and it has everything to do with like really being a servant and like truly showing up in a way that I think is a reflection of Christ, and also being okay with saying I don't have it all figured out. I'm not self-righteous in any way. Like I'm very much a sinner like everybody else. I'm just trying to figure it out, and I love to be vocal about having such deep love and reverence for Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. But yeah, it's definitely still a journey. I feel so new in even in that.
Hmm.
Um but just seeing firsthand, I don't think I had a testimony prior to like 2022. I'm sure I did, but I didn't know it. So after that, I actually had some real evidence of the realness of
Hmm.
Christ and just of God as a whole. And that kind of like catapulted me into having a more fervent faith and being able to actually say like, no, I know this isn't just because I was raised this way or because my grandparents said this, or I'm not living life just off of my grandmother's prayers. Like I'm praying for myself, I'm praying for others. Like this is something that I know for sure now, and that's the space that I'm in. And even that is still riddled with highs and lows. Like
Hmm.
it's not just a
Hmm.
matter of, oh, I've come into this and I got, baptized as an adult, and so now I'm good to go. Like I honestly feel sometimes even more confused now having certain awarenesses and testimonies, because it's like, okay, so girl, neither here
Hmm.
nor there. Yeah, it's both old and new, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a similar path. I grew up in the Catholic school system, private school system, from kindergarten to eighth grade. Um, and I, it felt very performative to me. Mass on was Thursdays, sit down, kneel, stand up, go take your communion, all the things. And it wasn't until I moved to LA, where my relationship with Christ really became established, when I was really out there on my own, like, who am I as a human? And where, like, he's always there, but I was not in communication with him. And so it's interesting because once I got baptized out there, it was interesting because life got
Worse.
exponentially harder,
Yeah.
exponentially harder. I was like, oh my goodness. It becomes almost like this test of like, do you trust me? Do you really have the faith that you say that you have? Do you, for me, it felt like the message was, are you going to be malleable for me to move you to where I need you to be for the vision of life that I have for you? Because when I moved out there, I was all in dance,
Yeah.
and I wasn't thinking about wellness, about taking care of myself. I wasn't thinking about the uplifting of others. I was just thinking about how can I survive out there.
Yeah.
It was a very unintentional, selfish way of thinking and living, um, because I was so invested on what I wanted my dream life to be. I was just so stubborn, you know, on my own vision and on my own path. But after I decided to just let go and just say, you know what, have your way, like I said, life got exponentially harder. And the deeper I fell into my faith, the more things started to shift. It's
Yeah.
interesting because in 2020, when I was diagnosed with my autoimmune disease, that was like the peak level of like stress in my life, you know. And so I was like seeing holistic doctors, and we were trying to pinpoint like how did I get sick, or what triggered this autoimmune disease? Is it genetic or whatever? And it wasn't any of those things. We think it was really stress induced, um, a combination of stress induced, and also I had just recently let go of a lot of things and a lot of people, and my nervous system had finally calmed down enough to where my body could respond, and it responded in an immediate flare because I had been in fight or flight for so many years. Um, so all that to say, it's crazy how faith will just immediately, you know, change um, your trajectory of things when you say, "God, have your way." Um,
Yeah.
and that's one thing I really am drawn to you about, is how much you exalt His name in everything that you do. Um, because I truly believe, you know, we can't do this alone
Mm-mm.
at all,
Not at
at
all.
all. Um, so with that being said, um, where do you think, you kind of touched on it, but just in a generalization, where do you think your faith, or faith in general, not even just as it relates to you, falls into the umbrella of how it enhances your wellness?
Top of the list.
Hmm. Hmm.
um, yeah, like literally everything. It's above the umbrella.
Hmm.
It's not underneath it. Everything else kind of falls underneath. But my faith is literally like the reason that I'm doing any of this, honestly. Because I know that it's so much bigger than me. And I get constant reminders and just affirmations along the way that it's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. Is something, again, that I've always done in some form or facet. When I was in middle school and high school, really in elementary school, middle school, high school, I used to tell people I was going to be a brain surgeon. It wasn't until I got to college and realized all that I had to do to actually be a brain surgeon that I was like, girl, you're not going to be no brain surgeon. But when I think about that, indirectly, I am still very much involved in the development of people's minds. And
Yes.
so you are and always have been exactly who you will be. And in regards to like purpose and like passion and like your intent behind why you exist, I think that that's not something that we just randomly stumble across. Like it's already there. And it's a choice as to whether or not you're going to walk a path, obviously, of obedience that will just push you closer and closer and closer to aligning yourself with that purpose. Um, and my faith is something that constantly redirects me to that whenever the humanness of me wants to drift and my flesh wants to be louder than my faith. Like that is literally what guides me, like a compass, kind of. Um, so when I think about seasons of my life where my faith wasn't as strong, it's also seasons where I was completely lost and I was just doing any and everything, and I was floating in the wind, like literally just finding my way, but not even trying to find my way, because it's like, well, one day you were going this way and tomorrow you're going that way, and it's just like, are you finding your way, or are you just existing? And
Right.
I think that those seasons serve a purpose too. And so I don't want to, put them in a bad light. Without that, I wouldn't have gotten here at all. But my faith is definitely, it's at the top. It's above everything. I don't feel, just if I'm being transparent, I don't feel like this year I have been as focused as I would like to be on remembering that. I honestly think that I've allowed some external circumstances to shift my attention away from that, which probably has made stress and just burnout so much more likely to happen. Um, but this conversation is definitely like a gentle nudge, you know, to get back in the space that I feel like I was operating in prior to getting where I am now. And I'm just feeling like fully burnt out. The same
Mm-hmm.
faith that helped me to establish the prayers that have yielded the things I have now
Mm-hmm.
has to be a similar kind of faith that can help me find the language to pray about how to manage the things that I have now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just so funny how you forget something that hasn't changed. It's
Mm-hmm.
literally been the same. The same solution has always been the same solution. But
Yeah.
somehow when we get to these new stages and these new seasons, we be like, what do I do? The same thing you did before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Same thing you will always do until you're no longer here. Like you just keep doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm grateful for conversations like this because they help you to give yourself the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, sometimes it's that little nudge that you didn't know you needed. Well, you knew you needed, but you just weren't, giving the focus and the time and the attention that it deserves. Um, so since people call you the wellness it girl, I like to ask this question of people that are in the wellness space. What does wellness mean to you? Like if you could define it, what does it look like?
I think wellness is any and everything that contributes to the overall healing, growth, and freedom of an individual. It is so hard to put into words because it looks so different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
There are some consistencies. Eat well, move your body. But besides that, eat well, move your body, sleep. Besides that, it can get as different as blue is to red. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, for me, I think am learning right now to shift away from trying to define wellness and sitting more in how how do I really feel? Like really feel.
Mm-hmm.
And that has made me realize so many of the things that have kind of fallen under the umbrella of what wellness is and what it looks like are things that honestly have made me ill in a lot of ways. Um, some of what you were saying earlier about what you and like the holistic doctors you were seeing believed could have been like triggers for your autoimmune disease. I think in a very similar way, I've had experiences, not to the extent of autoimmune disease. That's not something that I could ever imagine or even understand having not experienced myself. But I do know like right now, this is the first time that I've seen what stress can do to my body. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason that I'm bringing up stress is because, again, a lot of the things that we rattle off and we list off as like the things that are, key indicators of a well person have been things that have caused so much stress for me. And
Right.
that has made me very unwell, like losing sleep. I started battling with insomnia as a result of PTSD from grief in 2022. I didn't really like elaborate on that, but I lost my best friend and my godson tragically and unexpectedly in March of 2022. An exact month after their death, I lost my grandmother. That was expected, kind of planned, prepared for, but still very impactful. And so my best friend and my godson being so closely linked to their death, and then of course like their transition and all of the things that comes with death, that until you've experienced it you really don't know. um I was diagnosed with post traumatic stress disorder, and I could not sleep. Like, I really could not sleep. Not just I had a hard time getting to sleep, but I was going days and weeks without any sleep. And then what little bit of sleep I was getting was literally like an hour, if
Mm-hmm.
that. And so once I kind of got over the hurdle of that, I hadn't experienced any challenges with insomnia for like a few years. And at the beginning of this year, I started struggling with insomnia again. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
bro, like, I thought I had finally got over this. I done did the melatonin. At one point I was smoking weed. Like, I done figured it all out. Like, I thought I was good. And so when it came back, I was like thinking that, it's the time of year and like it's grief induced. Do you know that it had nothing to do with any of those things? And I had allowed myself to entertain some relationships that should have never been entertained. And I had lost my voice and lost my ability to speak, and literally
Mm-hmm.
had like grew silent to the point where I was feeling like actual knots in my throat and I was getting sick
Wow.
every other day. And that is what was causing me to not be able to sleep. My brain was literally trying to process and like function through what quite literally was feeling like I was being attacked, like I was under attack. You're not
Mm-hmm.
going to sleep if you feel like you're under attack, if you don't feel
Right.
safe, if you don't feel settled, if your nervous system is literally alarmed, you're not going
Yep.
to rest. You might
Yep.
lay down, but you're not going to rest at
Right.
all. And it wasn't until I actually started doing the necessary steps to get out of that relationship dynamic or relationship dynamics, because it wasn't just one singular person, that I was actually like, oh, I can talk again. I'm not stumbling over my words anymore, which is something I've never done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm not like unable to sleep or like getting sick every other day, which is something that never happens. Like, I, for the most part, have had a decent immune system, I guess you can say. It was very interesting to see like just how deep the whole awareness around wellness can be, because that entire time I never stopped going to the gym, I never stopped meal prepping, I never stopped drinking the water and getting the smoothies and putting on the cute outfits, but I wasn't
Yes.
well. And
Yes.
I mean, parts of where I am now are still kind of in the interim of getting out of that still, but it's so easy to just think that like if I got all of these things figured out, I'm well. And as
No.
long as the internet thinks so, we good. But
No.
like, how many people are actually brave enough to say, like, I don't really know what the heck is going on, and I'm doing my best to figure it out. And because I'm willing to admit that, I would think that is an indicator of an effort to be well in
Yes.
pursuit of wellness. It's never going to be, like you said, perfect or mastered, but honesty should be a part of somebody's wellness journey. And the space that I'm in right now is being radically honest with myself. And that's why I think I'm being deemed the wellness it girl. Cause like I
Mm-hmm.
can comfortably say, like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
really trying, and I'm committed
Yeah.
to trying. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a
Actually,
long-winded way of saying you really can't define it.
yeah. Honestly, though, I think you did define it in your explanation of your experience of your journey. Um, it wasn't in a one sentence blurb or anything like that, but you did define it. And you made a good point about how I feel like honesty is like the trigger, or like the little light bulb moment of there's something happening here that needs my attention. When you're
Yeah.
honest enough to say, okay, I'm doing all the things. I'm going to the gym. I have my cute matchy sets from Lulu. I have, I'm drinking my water. I'm eating right. I'm meal prepping. I'm whatever, all the things, but I'm something still not right. And being honest enough to admit that, and then being brave enough to try to go through the discovery of like what's happening and where is this coming from, and getting curious in that. um and then the other point you mentioned about, once you identify it, instead of putting band-aids on it with the, oh, I can't sleep, I'm having insomnia, so let me do a melatonin, or let me smoke some weed to just get myself to sleep, or whatever, just do that quick fix. Being brave and patient enough to dig to the root of that problem, what is causing it, and fix it at the source. All of that is still parts of wellness, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. So I think wellness, it also takes a curiosity. It takes honesty, but it also takes a curiosity to really be in tune with yourself, to want to figure out, what are the root causes of my experience? Positive, negative, in between, whatever. Where is this coming from? What's the cause and effect of my decisions, of my choices, of the people I keep around me, of my atmosphere? How does
Yeah.
it affect my ecosystem? I see wellness as an ecosystem, it's all encompassing. Um, but yeah,
And identifying the things that are going well also. I think a lot
yeah.
of times most people's wellness journey starts with a problem, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to. If there are things that are going very well, your journey can start by just, wanting to amplify those practices. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something that has been a part of my journey also, kind of
Mm-hmm.
like you said, curiosity helping me realize like, oh, this is something that I have been doing maybe without intention, but I've noticed that it has some really positive effects. And so maybe I can do more of this,
Yeah.
put more time and energy into this, and
Yeah.
accept too that highs and lows were always a part of the story.
Right.
So if you don't understand that, then you think that the lows are a problem, and then you obsess over trying to fix something that was always going to happen and it was meant to happen. And I think that it's important to kind of point that out as well, that life, not even just wellness, but a well life is not one that is going to be absent of suffering.
Yes.
It's going to have some suffering. And again, that's where the whole faith and understanding of Christ has to come back into the conversation, because individuals, and I'll speak from my own experience, I won't pull nobody else into the conversation. Seasons of my life where I had not yet understood and accepted that the suffering is already written in, and the struggles are already written in, and the lows are already written in. Seasons of my life where I didn't understand that, and for some reason I thought that I was exempt from those types of things, and that I should just live on a rainbow with fairy dust and marshmallows forever.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the seasons that I was most unhealthy. But the space that I have like transitioned into is one that understands all of these things contribute to my wellness, even if they don't always feel good. The things that are contributing to you being unwell,
Mm-hmm.
those are the things that you go and you extract and you fix and you
Mm-hmm.
you avoid, not just adversity as a whole, because you really can't avoid it, it's inevitable, but detrimental habits, detrimental practices, being in a space of fight or flight for an extended period of time, one that is literally making you sick. That's when you make those changes. But not trying to dodge a crack all the time, because you can't. You
Right.
can't. You really can't.
Right.
And I think it does something mentally. It frees up some space. It definitely helps you put your shoulders down when you can stop fearing what is going to happen, no matter what. Like,
Right.
it's okay. It's okay. People's worst fear about like being broke and feeling like, oh, I'm gonna just run myself through the ground because I never want to feel this again. Is it really gonna be the end of the world if you just so happen to lose a little money for a little bit of time? Like, we can figure it out. We can get
Mm-hmm.
ourselves out of these circumstances. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there because I feel like that part is like very necessary when it comes to just being content with all of the journey and not just
Yeah,
the parts that feel Instagram worthy, like all of it.
yeah,
All of
yeah,
it. There's nothing that I would have ever been able to do differently. There's no amount of working out, eating better, going for walks that would have prevented me from experiencing grief. And again, there will be more grief that I experience. That doesn't mean that I'm not doing the things that are necessary to me being well. And
mhm,
still actively grieving somebody who died 4 or 5 years ago, that's not a reflection of me not doing the work. That's not something that's like, oh, you still sad about that? I am actually.
yeah,
And I'm still well, even in that. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that part is, that's the hard conversation that I would love for us to have more of, because once you once you come into acceptance of that, it kind of gets a little easier actually. It's
mhm,
like, okay, I can unclench my jaw because I know this is a part of it too. It's not God being mad at me and punishing me. It's a part of
yeah,
it. It's necessary.
yeah, yeah. And see, this is why I wanted to have you on because you gonna share the real, not just the fluff. But to your point about grief, I have gone through a lot of loss um, within my own life and just experiencing other people passing on. And one thing that I tell myself about grief is it reminds me about the extent of my love that I had for that person. It is
I
a
like that.
reminder. Grief reminds me that I cared deeply about someone.
Mm, I
I
like
don't
that.
I don't dwell on the fact that they're gone when those feelings of grief come up. I dwell on the fact that I was blessed enough to get to experience them. It's okay to miss them. It's okay to, to miss the loss or feel their emptiness of them no longer being on this plane.
Yeah.
Um, but I choose to reframe my grief as best as I possibly can. Like it's not a perfect thing, but to just say I was blessed enough to get to experience that person, that thing. Even within, my own personal inner grief journey of like grieving the life that I thought I was going to live or the abilities that I thought I would always have, always being able bodied or whatever that may look like, you know, I was blessed enough to get to have that in my life. Um, yeah, because in my grief, before I had that pivot, I would spiral and it would get very, very dark for extended, very extended periods of time. But through therapy, my therapist helped me try to reframe what grief can look like. And grief is a lifelong thing, it's never going to go away. It's never going to go away, you know? Um, but actually, that's a good segue into my next topic of how much does, I know we use this buzzword community a lot. So I'm going to actually use a different word. How much does your village impact your lived experience? Whether that means like uplifting you when you're down, encouraging you, um, keeping you focused. And I'm going to use village and not just community because I feel like community can just be anybody around. It can feel uh, not necessarily performative, but just like for the masses. Whereas I feel like your village is something that's way more protected, guarded, close to heart. It's your inner circle. It's the people that um, are with you on a day to day, that they see the inner workings of you, where you don't feel like you have to perform, you don't feel like you have to, or you feel like you can unmask, or whatever that may look like. How did your village play a role in your journey?
Honestly, I feel like it is partly my village and my community, if I'm being honest, because
I love.
I have a very intimate village. Believe it or not, I don't have very many people that I keep in close proximity to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I am so many things. I have so many things. I give so many things. I require so many things. And so allowing people to be in close proximity to me is something that I really take my time to evaluate,
Mm-hmm.
because I know it takes a very special kind of person to exist consistently near me for long periods of time. That's a really cute way of saying like I'm a lot. Not even gonna
Mm-hmm.
hold you. And I'm aware of this. I've always been aware of this about myself. The things that feel bright and warm can also feel hot and intense. And so being like close, I always use the analogy of like the sun. If I'm the sun, everybody loves the sun in the summertime. Everybody loves the sun. Everybody wants the sun in the winter and in the spring leading up to getting it. But like in the thick of it, it's like, oh my God, it's so hot. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I'm like burning up. Like, bruh, it's too hot. Like, what? Where's the clouds? And so
Yeah.
I really only like having people around me who can like manage that comfortably
Mm-hmm.
without making me feel wrong for being who I just am,
Yeah.
and without making me feel like I have to explain it. Like you just kind of you either get it or you don't. So said all of that to say my village, like my core people, it's a very, very little small little pocket of folks. Very few of which are like biological relatives of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So they play a very big factor in like who I am and just like my growth and my healing and my wellness as a whole, because like you said, it feels good to have people that you trust enough and that are safe enough for you to just unravel. That's a word I've been using a lot lately, because that's just all I've been wanting to do is just unravel so badly. I just been wanting to literally turn my brain off completely and just say nothing, do nothing, just literally be able to just be in complete silence and know that nobody is going to expect something of me or need me to say something sweet and profound, and they'll still enjoy just me. Um and that's so necessary in seasons of life where like I feel burnt out. Like yesterday I went over Aaron's house and we sat on the couch and we ate charcuterie and we watched Real Housewives and we had a blast. And I was just having
That
the
sounds
time of my life, because
perfect.
I was just like, yes, I don't have to have some long drawn out deep conversation about something I just don't even have the capacity to talk about right now.
Yeah.
But in relationships where like that understanding of me just being a human being hasn't been established, there people that don't really know me, like they just still want me to have all the answers. It's just like I really don't have that for you at this very moment.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, my community that may not necessarily be a part of my inner circle, my inner village, they serve me in a lot of ways, because I get reminders from people who may not know me that like my existence is doing something for other people. And so
Mm-hmm.
in the days or the moments where I really am not up to it, I have the right to not be up to it and take rest. But
Yes.
there's a thin line between just like dismissing your purpose and grace. Like grace, I give myself grace, but like sometimes you kind of have to have a little grit. And I think the people that are outside of my inner circle, people who have no attachment to me whatsoever, those are the people who remind me of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I always get a random message on Instagram from somebody saying something that I really needed to hear. And it'd be like, thank you. Because today I was really feeling like I'm oversharing or I'm over posting. I was just getting ready to take a social media hiatus, and I probably still should. But
Uh-huh.
I appreciate this message. I appreciate this reminder. I appreciate the support, because people who love you, they're going to show up for you in a way that is a reflection of their love. But people who don't know you and have no attachment to you whatsoever, they're going to show up in a reflection of your value to them. And
Yeah.
so, not to measure
That's a
my
good
value,
point.
not to measure my value, but just to, just to confirm it. Like, wow, okay, this is so much bigger than me, and here is the evidence of that.
Yeah.
So they both serve a purpose for me personally,
Hmm.
and it's something I'm very grateful for. I'm extremely grateful for, because there's a lot
I
of
love
seasons
that.
where just the village wouldn't be enough, and just the community wouldn't be enough. Like, I need it all. I definitely need it all.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for showing up today, for pouring
You are
into
welcome.
all that are watching and listening and pouring into me. I love you down. I appreciate you so much. You are someone who came into my life at such a pivotal time, which I don't think I've ever told you. But it was in a season of where I was kind of like restructuring the people I keep around me, um, because my life was starting to look different.
Hmm.
And I did a lot of praying for God to send me people to in any capacity. It doesn't necessarily need to be a best friend, but just send me people that see me beyond the label, that see me beyond my disease, that see me beyond, all the things that outwardly people would define me as or put on me. So I appreciate you so much for that. And I appreciate you sharing your story and your journey in a way that you have today. I think whoever is listening will get to know you a little bit deeper outside of just your title based off of what you shared. Um, and I hope that whoever is listening or watching gets a download that they needed for what we shared. So I always like to end the same way, and it's always a curveball question because people are like, "What do you mean?" But the question is, what makes you noble?
What makes me noble? My courage.
Hmm. Yeah.
We talk a lot about confidence. I think my confidence has gotten a lot of credit that really was due to my courage.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. I love that. I love that. Yes. Yes. You are very brave because you have not even just in what you've done, but in who you are and how you decide to tackle life, how you decide to lean into your faith. That in itself takes a lot of courage, to decide to just give your life over to Christ in the way that you. But yes, thank you so much, Chelsea.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for showing up as
Of
well.
course,
You don't
of
get your
course,
flowers as much as you deserve, but I appreciate you for being so persistent about this happening. And I think that it happened exactly when it was supposed to. So I'm very
absolutely.
grateful to be able to yap on a platform.
Absolutely. Well, this has been episode 16 of the Noble Shit Podcast. Until next time, bye.